Hello. In my series of blocks, I've done the eating, the drinking, and the smoking block. And today I'm going to talk about other blocks. So we can have a physical block in our aura, emotional block, mental block, and psychological blocks. I actually also believe we can have past life blocks. So knowing this means that if we can figure out what our blocks are, we can do the same process to get rid of them. Blocks are very difficult to get rid of, mostly because we don't know they're there. But there can be hints of blocks because there will be like a resistance or an inability to do something. That usually signifies an actual block. For example, I want to do my drawing and art lately, but I'm noticing that even though I've got everything ready there and I practiced and got it up to a level that I felt was getting better, then I had a break. After the break, I actually found it very difficult to go back because I didn't think I would remember what I did or would be good enough. And then I started to think about, I think I've got a block there, a drawing and an art block, like a painting block. So I got out my pendulum and checked him and asked with kinesiology. And sure, I have a block there. So then I decided to go and release it because I actually want to get started again. The block always feels like you want to do it, but you can't quite get over the hurdle. That's how it'll help you. You can have it also with other things. You can have a money block, that you have a block around money, or what I call a poverty mentality, where you think money won't come in, you don't believe you can make money, you don't believe you can be successful. And all these blocks we put up for whatever reason remain in the aura, and until we let go of them, they almost take over and don't allow good things to happen. The mental block is how you think. It will be your thought forms. So if you think you're ugly, you think you're fat, you'll think you're not good enough, that'll be the mental. The emotional block will be around how you feel, like you feel anxious, or you feel you can't cope, or you feel stressed. The psychological one is how I feel is how you behave, like it's your reaction to things. So if something happens and you have a block, and then you will react and be triggered a certain way. So there are different aspects of the different sorts of blocks. I think the physical block is usually something that's actually a trauma to the actual physical body, like you fell over and hurt your knee when you were little and now you've got arthritis. That kind of physical block. The process is the same as the other blocks that I spoke about. You need to find the release that works for you, the release work, which includes, if you haven't heard my other videos, I'll go through it. So that includes using emotional freedom tapping, which you can check out on the internet. Breathing work, breathing the block out, going to a healer or doing Reiki on yourself to let the block go. Hypnosis or self-hypnosis is another one. Visualization, seeing the block release from you. I think the power of it is you, because you are the only one who can release it because you put it there. And even if you did go to a healer or hypnotized, you can actually reset yourself and put the block back if you want to, if you need it. These blocks really stop us from achieving things in our lives. It's like trying to get across a river and there's no bridge to get to the other side. That's how I always feel. And I'm looking across going, I wish I could do that, and I can't. But the more we work on the block and then the associated either emotions or thoughts we have around it, and changing those, like releasing the emotions and putting positive emotions in, changing the thoughts like, I cannot, I never make money, or I can't be successful, or I can't draw, or even I can't lose weight. All of those ways we are thinking and then reacting as well, they are going to be the twofold parts that we need to work on. I think it's a powerful thing to let go of blocks. From my point of view, I noticed the hardest and the biggest blocks were the ones I was most didn't see them or just didn't realize. Often we will be given signs that we have a block. People will say things to you, and listen to other people, because they will observe a block in you that you won't see, because they're watching you from the outside in, and they will say, oh, you've got problems with anxiety, or you don't believe you can make money, or you don't think you're good enough, or you have this feeling about this or that feeling about that. People will actually tell you. And if you actually ask close friends who are lucky enough to have a good healer, Reiki person, or an intuitive around you, they will often be able to tell you what the block is. Anxiety blocks are very powerful in people, and blocks of fear and terror, and they really get cemented in. You can also have blocks of anger and hate and rage and frustration, and you can have a block of grief. And often you'll know where those blocks are because where you can feel it. For example, the grief one will usually be in the heart area, heart chakra, in the throat and the crown. A block of depression will often be in the heart and then in the crown. Blocks of stress can be all over the place. You can find them in every chakra usually. I find the block of terror will be sometimes in the base and sometimes in the sacral. That's just underneath where your stomach is. Terror can also be in the throat. We can also have blocks of negativity. We have a negative response to life, and these blocks will often be in the throat because of how we speak. We speak negatively, and in the crown, and that's how we think. So once you start working on it, you will find there's a multitude of blocks. It's very good to release them because the body likes to flow freely, and these blocks will actually often be underpinning illnesses, diseases that you have. And sometimes they will end up being clinical and the doctor will be able to tell you what it is. But often these blocks will actually exhibit symptoms of perhaps colitis, migraines, backache, indigestion. There's lots of them. But they actually have an emotional component. If left there too long, I think they can actually manifest in the physical body then and end up being also not only an emotional block or mental, but then it will become like a physical block because you've had it for so long and you just keep collecting. Do the work. It's really worth it. You will sometimes feel the emotion afterwards. So don't be surprised if you release an anxiety block and then for the next 24 hours feel a little bit more anxious, or an angry block and then you feel a bit more angry. Just in that time as it releases, just be good to yourself. Watch your words if it's the angry one. And then you'll find that your block can go because you actually might need to release it. Sometimes journaling can help as well once you've found what it is. So you write down how you feel about it. And often if you can work out when it started. I remember I was in class and it was an art lesson and I sat there the whole lesson. At the end I just had a blank page. There was nothing on it and the teacher made a fairly big deal about it and I got really embarrassed, but I couldn't draw. Nothing happened. And I think that's when my drawing block began. You might actually get a flashback once the block's released of when that first happened. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm no good at maths, but if they look back, they remember the time when they were humiliated or felt like a failure and were judged and shamed in the maths class. So when you go back, you'll find it somewhere, or something your parents said or a neighbour said. It can often be just one incident and you just go into that shutdown and you shut it down. And if you go back to that incident, then you can release that as well and let that go now. Because just because people say things to you doesn't mean it's actually the truth. It's just often their opinion. It can be the truth, but it isn't always. Write a list down of your blocks that you think you have. I found once I started writing lists, then I sort of found more and more blocks. But I just keep working on it because I think, well, it's good for my aura and it's better not to carry around all the rubbish. There's a really nice saying which is, we are what we release. And I think that's true, because the more we release, then we change ourselves, and we don't have to carry the pain and the hurt and the damage anymore. Good luck with it. It takes a while, and you'll probably find once you get started, you'll become quite expert at it. I wrote everything down because, of course, I'm writing books right now as well, and I needed all the information, and I couldn't retain it all. So I've got a little booklet, and I write down what I do and when I do it. Sometimes I keep having the same thing come up again, like if it's anxiety or fear or whatever it is, then you might find you have to keep going, because the block's a little bit like the onion. There'll be layers of it as you go down, and as you get down to the bottom of it, the source of it, when you first put it in, when you first started forming the block, that's actually the deeply rooted part. So don't be too hard on yourself if you get to that part and it's hard to shift. That part's hard to shift. So do all your tools, see your block going, see yourself as free, and I wish you love and light.